Shoot your arrows! Cooper Kupp plucks it out of the air and gives the Rams the lead. Robert Woods, touchdown! LA! Dog goes crashing into the end zone. Aaron Donald almost beat the football there. Corey Littleton, have yourself a day. Picked off. Marcus Peters coming off the edge, and Ryan will be wrapped up by Clay Matthews. Everett in stride! Wow!
Franklin Myers gets his hand down there.
Weddle got a hand on it. Did he pick it? He did!
Racing down the sideline is Akeem Talib. Gurley for MVP! Touchdown LA!
Picked off by John Johnson.
Well, Dante Fowler, who is able to get to Breeze. Greg Zuerlein sends the Rams to the Super Bowl! LA will play for the Lombardi!
Welcome back, guys, to another Downtown Rams podcast. It's episode 195. I'm your host, Jake Ellenbogen. Joining me, as always, is Alexis Kraft. And this is another draft season edition of the podcast. We have two linebackers today. Both participated in the NFL Scouting Combine. We have Ty Summers from TCU, and we have Nate Hall from Northwestern. So before we get into that, just a reminder, if you like what you hear, be sure to let somebody know, somebody that hasn't listened before, looks at reviews. If you could leave an awesome review there or just let them know what your thoughts are, that'd be much appreciated, as well as subscribing, because anytime you are trying to get a podcast on your phone and say you forget to just hit that, download button manually, it's going to go right onto your phone or wherever, you get your podcast. So be sure to subscribe, be sure to review, and enjoy the show. All right, guys, joining us on the show, we have TCU linebacker Ty Summers. How's it going, man? Thanks so much for coming on.
It's going great. Yeah, glad to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to talk to you. And just to start this off, we kind of want to get to know, how did you start playing football and how did you get into the sport?
Well, the first season I ever played full contact football was when I was 6 years old. And the thing that really drove me to want to get into that was my dad. He used to play football when I was, obviously I wasn't alive yet, but he played at Howard Payne, played quarterback, and then went and played in Italy. And so, of course, every little kid wants to be like their dad. And so that was kind of what started it. And then I realized I had a love and a passion for it once I got into it.
Yeah, that's great, man. And you probably watched some NFL growing up. Did you have a favorite player?
Growing up, I had a few guys I like to watch, but the one that was my very first favorite player ever was Marshall Faulk.
My guy.
I actually wore his number in my first season playing. I played quarterback for our 6-year-old football team, and I wore number 28.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's awesome. We certainly love Marshall Faulk as well. And you mentioned, you played quarterback because you were an all-district dual-threat quarterback and a safety in San Antonio. What kind of made you decide to leave quarterbacking in the rearview mirror?
Well, I just realized that because I really only, started at quarterback on varsity as a senior. And so a lot of teams already had their commits and guys signed to come play college football with them as a quarterback. And so I knew that my opportunity to play Division I was going to have to be probably at another position. So a lot of teams that were calling me and want to offer me towards the end were all for positions like linebacker or an H-back kind of position. So I just kind of knew that was the plan. I was all about it, man. I was just excited to get an opportunity to play Division I.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, obviously you went through that process. And in the end, you chose TCU, but what was the deciding factor in choosing to go there?
First off, I was one of those guys that didn't have a ton of offers. So TCU was one of the few. And whenever I went on a visit, though, I just fell in love. And I just realized that was going to be the best spot for me all around with the competition level they had there, being a part of the Big 12, the academic standing the university had, as well as the social aspect. I feel like it was just an all-around good fit.
That's awesome. And, you certainly had a good career at TCU. Do you have it's probably hard to pick, but do you have a favorite memory from your time at TCU? Maybe a favorite play or a favorite game or something like that?
My favorite moment that I'd ever had at TCU was actually my redshirt freshman year. It was against Baylor. It was our last game of the regular season, and we ended up beating them, and I think it was double overtime, in pouring rain, freezing weather, and I ended up having the last tackle to seal the deal. And so that was a pretty awesome experience. So that was definitely my favorite memory while being at TCU.
That's awesome. Getting to play in the pouring rain is like, right out of a kid's dream, just playing the backyard, playing football and everything.
Football. Mm-hmm.
But, with that being said, you had a fun career, obviously, and you're head towards the NFL. What was your career like in general? Just, kind of starting from the beginning.
There was always, I had a share of challenges and things that I had to go through, whether it was injury or just circumstances with, competing for a position and for playing time. And so it was one of those things that you just constantly battle, and you just got to continue to take it upon yourself to try to be the best you can be. And so it was up and down, but overall, I think my career was successful nonetheless. I've been blessed with this opportunity to, go and chase a dream here at the NFL. So I'm just excited that everything that I was able to do at TCU brought me to this point.
Yeah, of course. And you went up against a lot of talented guys during your time in college, a lot of tough opponents. Is there any one guy that kind of stands out to you as being the toughest opponent that you faced?
Two guys that we faced, or that I faced, I say three guys that posed a very stiff challenge were guys like Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Those guys just make stuff happen, right? And then another guy was Montgomery, the running back from Iowa State. That dude, he was a boulder. He was tough to bring down. So those three guys were probably the most challenging guys that I look forward to playing against the most.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of hard to choose. It must be anyway, because you're coming from the Big 12. There's so many great guys that you didn't even name, and they're guys on your team that others would say were their toughest that they went up against. And one of them, I actually had a chance to see him at the recent Senior Bowl, was LJ Collier. What was it like to get to play with him on that defense?
He's one of those guys that had a high level of energy, and so he was always bringing it every rep, trying to go out there and beat his opponent and prove something every time he was out there on the field. And so it was fun playing with him. He's one of my good friends, and I'm looking forward to see what the future holds for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you had the opportunity to compete at the NFL Combine. What was that experience like, just to be there and be around all the talented guys who also are, going to go to the NFL and to meet with NFL teams? What was that like?
It was a dream come true, honestly. It's something I've looked forward to. And, I've watched the Combine ever since I was a little kid. And so to actually be a part of it was an incredible experience. It was one of those things, though, that, kept you so busy, whether it's doing psychological testing, meeting with coaches, medical testing. It was just one of those things that had you up, really late and waking up really early. And so it was a fun experience, yes, but it's one of those things I wouldn't necessarily want to have to go back and do over again, if you know what I mean.
I don't think you're the only one that said that either. It is more, it is kind of a psychological thing too. They're definitely just trying to keep you on your toes, and they're trying to see how well you react to, exactly. Certain things and whatnot. We've had some guys from the Senior Bowl when they rained out the second, week of practice, or the second day of the week of practice, and it got relocated to a different facility. It was indoors, and that's kind of one of the things where, I know obviously it made sense because it was raining, but it was just another thing where it's like you kind of just see what these guys do as far as, changing their habits, and, just kind of, okay, something like this happens, so how can I recover from that? So, it's just definitely pro day, comes up, after the Combine, and it's a little less like that, but I'm sure, there's still some elements of that. You do host a lot of NFL scouts because, of course, TCU is huge. So, what was that day like for you?
The pro day was something similar, just a smaller scale version of the Combine, really. It's just the competition part of it. And so it was fun being back around, my teammates and guys that I played with the last 4 or 5 years, and getting to be around them one more time, wearing TCU stuff. And I was almost more excited to be out there to watch what they did versus what I had to do. So was a fun experience, and I enjoyed being out there with them one last time. I'm looking forward to see what the future has in store for each one of them.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely. And, in your opinion, because watching you, I think you've got a lot of, and I know Jake agrees, a lot of strengths as a player. But in your opinion, what is your biggest strength?
I'll say one of my biggest strengths that people normally wouldn't say is communication, and not just like football IQ. So like a big thing for me is that that I understand the defense that I'm running as well as the offense that we're facing enough to be able to communicate to the rest of my team, make sure everyone's aligned where they need to be and knows their job, because, all it takes is one person to get out of place for a play to be busted. And so I feel like communication is definitely one of my strengths that I'm going to transfer to the NFL.
Yeah, that's definitely something that hasn't been brought up, and I like that answer. You're absolutely right. I mean, there's so many plays, but it seems like really one can kind of change, the game and, the outcome. So exactly like you said, you never want a busted play. You always want to have an opportunity to, basically have success on every play. And if you kind of, screw that opportunity up because, if you're out of position, then, you're already at a disadvantage before the snap even starts. But,
exactly.
So I definitely like that. But, moving on, I have to ask you because, you split some time. You did split some time, obviously as a linebacker, but you were also on the edge a little bit, your last year at TCU. Where, if you could start at either position, where would you prefer in the NFL?
Linebacker. That's probably more of a natural position for me. I mean, given my size and all. But as an outside linebacker, I could see myself doing that as well. But to be a defensive end per se, I mean, that's not necessarily my job. The reason I had to do that at TCU was just because we were short men, and had to do what was best for the team.
Yeah, of course. And a question that we like to ask defensive guys who come on the show, just to kind of get to know you better and just to see, because we're curious what your answer would be. But who would you most like to sack in the NFL?
Ooh. I don't know. That's tough. I feel like it'd be really cool to sack Tom Brady. Just because he's the GOAT. So to be able to sack him would be pretty sweet. Him and Drew Brees, all those guys that I grew up watching. I mean, just to even get a hand on them would be pretty sweet.
Yeah, we never get Tom Brady as an answer, so that's really rare. No, I'm totally kidding.
Oh, I was going to say, I was like.
He's definitely popular because, as you mentioned, he's, probably the GOAT. And so, and not many people get the opportunity, to get there to sack him. So it's definitely a good answer.
Yep.
Yeah. It's funny because you went from your strength, which is like, I've never even heard of that answer. And it makes so much sense, to then you picked like the answer that's totally, it's a totally popular answer.
Yeah.
So moving on, I mean, we are a Rams-based podcast, so I have to ask you if the Rams have met or spoken with you yet.
I talked to them a little bit at the Combine. So, yeah, I had a little bit of conversation, but nothing too crazy.
Yeah, well, we certainly like to hear you talk to them because, Jake and I are fans of you and would love to see you end up in the Rams. But no matter where you end up, we're going to be fans of you, and follow your career.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you.
We know you'll have a successful career, and hopefully it's with the Rams. but if not,
hey, we'll see.
Yeah, but just to kind of wrap it up, in your own words, who is Ty Summers as a player, and who is he as a person?
I feel like both are kind of the same. Because I bring similar, I take a similar stance towards both. Whenever it comes to just being a person and being a football player, I'm gonna try to be the best I can be, and it's by the way that I treat people. I'm gonna treat people with respect. I'm gonna go out there and give everything that I got, whatever it is I'm doing. Whether it's on the field or off the field, and I have an attention to detail, and things like that. And so I feel like the way that I treat people, obviously, I'm going to be a little more aggressive between the whistles. But aside from that, I have the same qualities on and off the field.
Hey, man, we really appreciate you coming on. Thought you had some great answers, and, it's great to get to know you because, it's really cool. You come from, being a quarterback, and you tell us your story, and then, of course, now you're a linebacker that's on his way to the NFL. So,
yeah, I appreciate y'all having me on.
Absolutely. Props to you, man. It's been a lot of fun. Stay healthy. Let's keep in touch.
Yes, sir. Sounds good. Y'all have a good evening.
All right, guys. Joining the show, we have Northwestern linebacker Nate Hall. How's it going, man? Thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be talking to you guys tonight.
Yeah, we're so excited to talk to you. And just to start this off, we just want to know, how old were you when you got into football, and kind of how did that process come to be?
Oh, man, I couldn't give you the exact age, but I can tell you it was very young. Both my dad and my brother played football at a collegiate level. So, we grew up in the backyard playing catch, playing games. The game's always been a part of my life and a part of my family's life. So, they started at a very young age.
Yeah, of course. And, you probably watched a lot of NFL growing up. If there is one, who's your favorite player? Or who was your favorite player is the better question.
My favorite player growing up, hands down, was Randy Moss. My dad was a receiver in college, so naturally I wanted to be a receiver. I played receiver in high school, and that was my offensive position. So Randy Moss was by far my favorite player growing up, for sure.
Yeah, he certainly was an exciting player to watch, and someone who I think a lot of people idolized and definitely wanted to be as kids. But, you played your collegiate career at Northwestern. What was the main factor for you in choosing them?
My brother actually played at Northwestern, and he was 4 years older than I was. So I had the opportunity to play with my brother for a year. And obviously it's a great academic school, and there's, playing football in the Big Ten was a dream of mine growing up as a kid, being from Ohio, watching Ohio State and Michigan and, teams in the Big Ten battle it out. It was always a dream of mine. So it was kind of a no-brainer to get the best of both worlds and play with my brother. Being in Chicago, it's a great city too. So, it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, and your brother Jimmy signed with the Oakland Raiders as a UDFA. Mm-hmm. What was it like kind of, on the outside looking in at what your brother was doing?
It was just kind of I was extremely happy for him, obviously, but it was just kind of like a, surreal feeling to see him live out his dream, from playing football when we were, young kids to making it to the NFL is something truly special. To watch him go through that only motivated me more to get there one day.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just looking back at your time at Northwestern, what was your college career like? And, when you look back now, just what was the experience like to be able to play there?
It was an amazing experience. Obviously the coaching staff was a major reason I went there as well. I thought I got, some of the best instruction, as a college football player you could have, especially as a linebacker with Coach Fitzgerald being, a former All-American, and, getting his instruction along with my position coaches was just, amazing. So from a football aspect, it was everything I hoped and dreamed. And then from an academic standpoint, the same way, I was able to be challenged in the classroom and come away with a degree that no one can take away from me. So.
Yeah, of course. And, obviously at Northwestern, you went up against, top-notch competition. Who would you say is the toughest opponent you faced in college?
Well, this past year, I played in a championship game, which is a Big Ten championship game against Ohio State, which obviously is a very good opponent. So probably that game, especially with it being Ohio State, being from Ohio, was a game that was important to me and the rest of the guys on the team that are from Ohio. And then it being a championship game, you're going to get the team's best on both sides. So it was just an all-out battle. It was probably one of the more special games I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And you played alongside a lot of great players on that Northwestern defense, one of them being Montre Hardage, who actually came on our show as well. What was it like getting to play with guys like him and like Joe Gaziano and all those guys? Was it special to be able to be a part of a defense that was really talented at every position?
Yeah, we obviously at Northwestern, we pride ourselves in our ability to stop teams from scoring. We've had top 20, top 15 defenses for a number of years, and I was there. And you don't do that without guys like Montre and Joe Gaz and some of the names you just mentioned. And to be a part of a group of guys like that and to be mentioned amongst them and amongst Northwestern's better defensive players is something I've always prided myself in.
Yeah, of course. And, you actually, you're at the NFL Combine. What was your experience, while there?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to participate in any of the, drills and tests, on the last day that's televised. But, it was just an amazing experience, again, to be amongst the nation's best, talking with all 32 teams and, trying to prove why you should be drafted and why you should be picked up by a team. But just to be there amongst some of the nation's best and to come together and meet some of those guys you've been playing against for so many years is a special feeling.
And what was your pro day like?
Pro day went well. It went well for me, especially considering I came off of a surgery in December. So I was banged up and went in there with very little training and still was able to perform pretty well, all things considered. Obviously, think I could have done better, but I'm always going to think that. So.
Yeah, now, Nate, looking at your overall game, obviously you have some strengths to you, but what would you say is your biggest strength, with your play?
Probably my versatility. My ability to play multiple positions on the field, my ability to cover, play in space, play in the box if need be. You can really stick me anywhere, but my ability to play special teams, and then just my overall athleticism to go out there and do what needs to be done to help a team win a game.
Yeah, and, as the draft approaches, what is something that you're looking to improve on, if anything?
Just honestly, this will be the first coming into this upcoming season will be the first time I can, truly be healthy. So I've just been, working on my body because my past 2 years I've been, dinged up pretty bad and playing through injury. So I've been working on my body pretty rigorously for the past couple of months and then trying to make sure that's corrected to go in, fully healthy so I can go out there and perform.
Yeah, and if there's a player out there, not necessarily, able to answer this question, I understand, but if there's a player out there that you molded your game after, who would that be?
Yeah, I don't know if I can really answer that, to be honest with you. I pride myself in being a unique player, having my own identity out on the field. I think that's the cool thing about football is that when you're out there, you show your personality and your own identity as a ball player. And I think that's what's special about the greats. You can't really say Randy Moss was the same as Jerry Rice, is the same as a Deion Sanders, is the same as a Ray Lewis. They're all got different personalities, but it's what worked for them, and that's why they were able to be, legends of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And a question that we like to ask defensive guys who come on the show, just for fun, just, to see what the answer is, if you could pick one guy to sack in the NFL, who would you pick?
Probably Tom Brady. Tom Brady's the best. I think he's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play the game. So, to get my hands on him in the backfield would be it'd be a surreal feeling, especially growing up watching the guy perform at the highest level for so many years. That'd be a dream come true.
Yeah, we pretty much are going to have to retire this question now since it's pretty much always Tom Brady. But
right.
But no, that's cool. I have to ask you, since we are a Rams-based podcast, have the Rams met with you or spoken with you at all?
I believe I spoke with it's hard because it's like speed dating at the Combine, but I believe I Spoke to the Rams briefly at our pro day. I'm pretty sure we had them every team represented at our pro day, but no lengthy conversations to this point.
Well, we certainly like to hear that you've talked to them because, we're fans of you and would love to see you end up a Ram. But no matter where you go, we're going to be fans and, follow your career because we believe you're going to have a successful one in the NFL. But just to kind of wrap it up, in your own words, who is Nate Hall as a player and who is he as a person?
I think those two questions actually go hand in hand. To someone who's going to be relentless in his attitude and the way he approaches every challenge that comes his way. Someone who's going to have fun doing it, who's going to do it passionately. I'm a firm believer if you don't do something with passion, there's no reason doing it at all. Even if that's something you may not want to do or don't feel like doing when you wake up a certain day, it's got to be done because, you're working toward a goal. And, that's the type of person I am. That's the type of person I try to be every morning when I wake up.
That's a really good way to put it. And that's kind of what, Alexis and I have been doing with this podcast. So I'm glad you bring that up. Man, it's a pleasure. Great talking with you. It was fun talking with your teammate Montre. It was fun talking with you. Wish you the best of luck and let's stay in touch.
Of course. Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Yep. Have a good one, Nate.
You too.